What just happened to all of you? It's about to get worse.
Joanna, we know you've spoken with the baptizer.
John, something's happening. John, there's a plot. They're going to kill you.
Judas is smiling, but deep down, something's already breaking. And if you watch the new trailer closely, you might have caught it. The tension, the hesitation, the weight of the decision he hasn't made yet, but will soon. The Chosen Season. 5 episode 1 isn't just a return to Jesus and his disciples, it's the beginning of the end, and episode 1 is already shaking fans to their core. The Chosen Season. 5 episode 1 isn't airing the way you're used to. If you've been following the show for a while, you already know it likes to break the rules. But this time, it's gone even bigger. Episode 1 officially premiered in theaters on March 28th. That's right. The global launch wasn't on the app. It wasn't streamed at home. It was on the big screen with thousands of people watching together. And for fans who've been on this journey since the beginning, the premiere felt like a sacred gathering. A celebration, a warning, a sign that we're entering a much heavier season. Because this is no ordinary episode. This isn't just another miracle, another parable, another city. This is Jerusalem. This is the beginning of the final days. And everything about the premiere, the sound, the silence, the glances between the disciples, whispers, one message, everything is about to change. According to Dallas Jenkins, Season 5 starts with a deeper emotional tone than ever before. In interviews before the release, he said this season is all about pressure, not just on Jesus, but on the people around him. And nowhere is that more clear than in Judas. Even before episode 1 dropped, fans were speculating, will Judas' betrayal be obvious from the start? Or will The Chosen show us a side of him we never expected? The answer is both. Luke Dimion's performance as Judas has always been subtle, controlled, almost innocent. And in the first moments of this episode, he's still that same disciple. Still learning, still hopeful, but there's a flicker of something else. A storm he's not ready to face. And the way The Chosen presents him, it doesn't scream villain. It whispers heartbreak. So why release this story in theaters first? Why take the risk? Some say it's about money. But honestly, I think it's about impact. Watching episode 1 in a dark theater with strangers, all holding their breath during the final scene, it hits differently. It's not just a show anymore. It's a shared experience, a spiritual wake-up call, and that's exactly what this episode is meant to be. Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus, called it a steamroller of emotion, and he wasn't exaggerating. From the very first scene, the intensity never lets up. The tension between the Romans and the people, the exhaustion on Jesus' face, the quiet fear in the disciples' eyes. It all builds up to a slow, haunting realization he knows what's coming, and he's still walking toward it. But what really caught everyone off guard, what had people gasping at the premiere, was the moment between Jesus and Judas. Yes, it happens in episode 1. And no, it's not what you think. There's no confrontation, no betrayal, just a conversation, just warmth. And that's what makes it so devastating. Because we know where this is going. We know what Judas is going to do. But Jesus still calls him friend. That moment, no spoilers, sets the entire tone for season 5. And it raises one haunting question. What do you do when your closest follower becomes your greatest enemy? Fans left the premiere with tears in their eyes. And not just because of Judas. Because every character in this episode feels closer, more real, more vulnerable. Mary Magdalene's silence, Matthew's worry, Peter's unease. These aren't just biblical figures anymore, they're people. And this season, their hearts are breaking. Slowly, painfully, beautifully. So, if you're waiting to watch episode 1 on the app, just know you're in for something powerful. And if you already saw it in theaters, let me ask you, did you catch the moment Judas hesitated? The moment he looked at Jesus like he couldn't breathe? Because if you did, you already know. This season won't just change the show. It'll change you. There's something terrifying about watching someone you trust slowly fall apart, especially when they don't even know it's happening. That's exactly what The Chosen Season 5 Episode 1 does with Judas. From the moment he steps on screen, there's a weight on him. There's a moment, quiet, almost nothing. where Judas looks at Jesus and hesitates before speaking. Just a beat, just a pause, but it lingers. And in that silence, you can feel everything shifting, like he's beginning to doubt not just the mission, but himself. And here's where the chosen really sets itself apart. Instead of fast-forwarding through the betrayal or painting Judas as a monster from the start, it leans into the tragedy. It gives us a chance to feel what Jesus feels. That ache of knowing someone you love will one day turn their back on you, and choosing to love them anyway. There's a moment in episode 1, heartbreaking quiet, where Jesus looks at Judas and says his name with such softness, such warmth that it actually hurts. Because as the audience, we know what's coming. But Jesus, he knows too. And he chooses kindness. That's what hits the hardest. Not the betrayal itself, but the love that surrounds it. The love that doesn't stop even when it knows the pain ahead. And Judas isn't the only one facing pressure this season. The tension is rising everywhere. Simon Peter is clearly struggling with the weight of leadership. You can see it in the way he walks, the way he watches Jesus more closely now, almost protectively, like he knows time is running out, but doesn't know how to stop the clock. Matthew is anxious, unsure of his place in the growing chaos. Even Mary Magdalene carries a heaviness with her this episode, like she's holding something back, something she's afraid to say out loud. It's like every disciple is slowly starting to feel what's coming, even if they don't have the words for it yet. And that's the brilliance of this episode. It doesn't give us all the answers. It just shows us the cracks in the surface, the tension beneath the smiles, the fear behind the faith. And the world outside their circle, it's closing in. Roman authority is tightening its grip. The city is buzzing with unrest. The crowds are bigger, but they're also more dangerous. There's awe, yes, but also suspicion. You can feel the storm building in every corner of this episode. And yet, at the center of it all is Jesus. Calm, steady, but clearly burdened. Jonathan Rumi delivers one of his most powerful performances yet. You can see the weariness in his eyes, the compassion that's almost too heavy to carry, the quiet urgency in his voice. This is a Jesus who knows the clock is ticking, who knows the cross is coming, and who still somehow finds the strength to guide, to heal, to hope. It's a performance that leaves you speechless. But here's the thing no one expected. Episode 1 doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a whisper, a moment so still, so heavy that you can feel the air leave the room. It's not a cliffhanger in the traditional sense. It's something deeper, a realization, a truth sinking in both for the characters and for us, that nothing will ever be the same again, that this road leads only one way, from the upper room to the hill outside the city. And Judas, he's walking it too, one step at a time. Not as a villain, not yet, but as a man torn between loyalty and pride, faith and fear. And in that final moment of the episode, you can see it in his eyes. He's not sure who he is anymore. And maybe that's what makes The Chosen Season 5 Episode 1 so unforgettable. It doesn't rely on shock or spectacle. It builds its tension through heartbreak, through silence, through love, and through the slow, devastating fall of a man who was once a friend and will soon become the betrayer. As the episode draws to a close, there's a strange calm that sets in, a silence that almost feels holy and yet filled with dread. It's the kind of quiet you feel before a storm, when the sky holds its breath and you know something is about to break. That's the final feeling Episode 1 leaves you with. Not chaos, not betrayal, but the unbearable weight of what's coming. Because even though everything still looks normal on the outside, the disciples are together, the mission is moving forward, and people are being healed. We know better. We know the story. We know the garden is coming, the trial, the cross. And somehow watching these early steps makes it even more painful, because now we're not just reading about it. We're watching it unfold in front of our eyes, moment by moment, heartbeat by heartbeat, through the faces of people we've come to love. But here's the most powerful part. Despite the growing fear, despite the coming betrayal, there is still so much faith in this episode. And it's not loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, worn like armor. It's in the way Matthew follows Jesus, even when he doesn't fully understand him. It's in the way Mary prays in silence, even when her heart is heavy. It's in the way Simon looks out at the horizon, trying to prepare for something he can't explain. These small acts, these quiet choices, are what make The Chosen so unforgettable. Because this isn't a show about perfect people. It's about broken ones, scared ones, people like us. And yet they still choose to believe, still choose to follow. And somehow that faith becomes the most powerful thing of all. The direction this season is taking becomes clearer in these final moments. Dallas Jenkins isn't just trying to tell a story we already know, he's making us feel it. He's bringing us into the confusion, the heartbreak, the love, and the loss that surrounds the final days of Jesus' ministry. It's not just about history anymore. It's about humanity. And that's what hits the hardest. Watching Judas knowing where this ends. Watching Peter knowing the denial is coming. Watching Mary knowing the cross is getting closer. There's a tragic beauty in all of it. Because as painful as it is to witness, we need to see it. We need to feel the cost of this journey. Because only then can we fully understand the depth of what's being offered. And as the credits begin to roll, there's this overwhelming urge to cling to the light. To hold on to the love that still exists between these characters. Because that love, Jesus' love, is the only thing that makes the darkness bearable. It's the only thing strong enough to carry us through what's coming next. And trust me, what's coming is going to shake everything. The teaser at the end gives just enough to raise the stakes. A glimpse of rising tensions in Jerusalem, a whispered warning among the disciples, and Judas standing alone staring into the night. It's clear the betrayal has already begun, even if no one said it out loud yet. So, where does that leave us? Right at the edge, staring into a story we know will break our hearts, and yet somehow we can't look away. Because there's something sacred about watching this version of the story unfold, something deeply human. And that's what makes The Chosen Season 5, Episode 1 more than just a premiere. It's the start of a heartbreakingly beautiful descent into the most important days in history. And if this first episode is any sign of what's ahead, we're not ready. But we're going to watch anyway. Something is shifting, and we can feel it. That's the overwhelming theme that pulses through the fourth part of The Chosen Season 5, Episode 1. This is where the emotional ground starts to crack beneath our feet, and we begin to understand just how close we are to everything falling apart. Judas' storyline becomes more than just a subplot, it becomes a slow-burning fuse. And what's terrifying is how normal everything still looks on the surface. He's still part of the group. He's still smiling, still helping, still walking behind Jesus like everyone else. But behind that calm, something else is bubbling. Doubt, restlessness, confusio. There are brief moments, glances, hesitations, shadows crossing his face, that reveal just how far down the path he's already gone. It's haunting. Because the show doesn't paint him as a villain, not yet. Instead, he's portrayed as someone we understand, someone we might have trusted ourselves. And that's what makes it so heartbreaking. The emotional tension builds in every interaction. The disciples don't know what's coming, but you can sense the friction rising. Small disagreements suddenly feel heavier. Every word carries more weight. Peter is getting more intense, more protective, clearly sensing that things are no longer safe. Matthew is quiet, absorbing everything, perhaps sensing the emotional storm no one's talking about. And Jesus, he knows. He absolutely knows. But what's most powerful about his portrayal here is how gentle he remains. You'd expect anger, distance, coldness. But instead, there's this quiet kindness in how he treats Judas even now, especially now. He looks him in the eyes with the same love he's always had. And somehow that love hurts more than any confrontation ever could. This section also gives us one of the most profound emotional contrasts between what the disciples expect and what's actually coming. Some are still hoping for a political uprising. Others think they're building a kingdom of peace. And yet Jesus is walking straight toward the cross. It's a collision course between human expectation and divine purpose. And the closer we get to it, the more heartbreaking it becomes. Watching the characters try to hold on to their version of the future, unaware of how quickly everything will change, it's devastating. And yet it's also beautiful, because it's so real. This is exactly how we live our lives too, holding on to dreams, clinging to what we think we know, even when God is leading us somewhere completely different. What makes this episode unforgettable is how it captures this tension without ever fully breaking it. It doesn't give us the betrayal just yet. It doesn't need to. The power is in the waiting, in the moments before the storm. Judas is still walking the road, still smiling in group conversations, still hugging his brothers. And that's what makes it unbearable, because we, the audience, are screaming silently, "Don't do it!" But he will. And the show makes us sit in that tension, makes us feel it. And somehow it makes us love Judas more, not less, because we see his conflict his pie. And in that way, The Chosen refuses to let us write him off as a monster. It forces us to face the uncomfortable truth that even those closest to Jesus can fall. And even they were loved until the very end. So, as episode 1 wraps up this part of the story, one thing becomes clear. Season 5 isn't just about what Jesus does. It's about what we do with Jesus. It's about choices, loyalty, doubt, and the unshakable love that holds everything together even when it all falls apart. Judas hasn't betrayed him yet, but the road has already been chosen, and we're walking it step by step, breath by breath, heart wide open, knowing the end, but still hoping for redemption. The final section of episode 1 doesn't end with comfort. It ends with weight. A heavy, emotional silence that lingers long after the final moment fades. Because by now we all know, we're heading straight toward the most painful chapters of this story. And this episode makes no attempt to soften that reality. Instead, it does something braver. It stares directly into it. We watch Jesus walk ahead surrounded by his closest friends, and yet more alone than ever before. Not because they've abandoned him, but because they still don't fully see what's coming. And that ache of being misunderstood, even by those who love you, it pulses through every quiet look and unspoken word in this last act. There's no big explosion, no flashy miracle, just a growing storm on the horizon, and hearts that aren't ready for it. The final scenes are all about setting the tone for everything that comes next. Jesus is more focused, more urgent. There's a deep stillness in him now, a sense of knowing, of preparing. He begins to speak in ways that feel more direct, more final. It's like he's planting seeds, hoping the disciples will remember his words when the world falls apart. And while they still nod, still smile, still follow him faithfully, there's something tragic in how much they don't yet understand. That contrast, the closeness of the group versus the spiritual distance between them, is haunting. And nowhere is this more heartbreaking than in the moments with Judas. He's there, watching, listening, smiling. But his heart is drifting. Not in anger, but in confusion. And that confusion will soon become the crack that shatters everything. And then there's the subtle shift in tone that the show delivers with such masterful precision. What started as a celebration, the return of Jesus, the unity of the disciples, the growing crowds, has turned into a quiet, creeping sorrow. The kind of sorrow you don't feel all at once, but gradually, like a shadow that gets longer with each step. And even the characters can sense it, though they can't name it yet. There are fewer jokes now, fewer carefree smiles, and even the light seems to dim slightly. Not because God is gone, but because the cost of the mission is becoming clearer. And the audience, we're right there with them, feeling the walls closing in, knowing that time is running out. By the time the credits approach, one thing becomes painfully clear. This is no longer just a story of hope and healing. It's a story of sacrifice, of betrayal, of love that holds steady through the deepest kind of heartbreak. The Chosen doesn't rush to the cross. It walks there slowly, intentionally, letting every step break us a little more so that when we finally get there, we understand the weight of it. And that's what episode 1 sets up so perfectly. It doesn't give us everything, but it gives us enough. Enough to know that season 5 will not hold back, Enough to know that Judas' journey is about to take its darkest turn. Enough to know that Jesus has never felt more human or more divine. So now we wait. We wait for the next episode knowing it will only get harder from here. But we also wait with hope, because if there's one thing The Chosen always shows us, it's that even in the darkest hour, love never disappears. It doesn't run. It doesn't quit. It stays. And that more than anything is what makes this story worth watching over and over again.